In last season's FA Cup final, Kobbie Mainoo played a full 90 minutes. He outclassed the Manchester City midfield and he scored the winning goal. Fast forward 12 months to the Europa League final, and the story was very different. He got just 9 minutes of action, and I call it action. His action map actually suggests something different. He didn't really get a chance. Everybody feels that Kobbie Mainoo should be playing more, everyone is saying that, but what people aren't talking about is why. So Kobbie Mainoo was obviously a really good footballer, right? We all saw him sort of blossoming, breaking into the Manchester United team last season and playing so well, bringing a breath of fresh air to the Manchester United midfield. And this was a youngster that we were talking about that could become one of the best midfielders in the world. This season, he hasn't been as good. He hasn't had his best year. I think he has struggled with fitness issues, and recently he has struggled to get into Ruben Amorim's team for the biggest matches. For me, as we move forward, that needs to change. Now, I should say, Kobbie Mainoo is still young. At this age, he doesn't need to play 90 minutes every single week. You know, he can do that when he's 25 years old. For now, he can continue to develop. But I certainly think we need to see him more regularly, because I think tactically, he can help us solve some of our biggest problems that we are currently facing. And we're going to take the game against Tottenham Hotspur in the final as sort of the case study of why Kobbie Mainoo should play more. Now, I know most of you guys may want to delete this game from your memory. Believe me too. But I think this game, and I said it the other day, really highlighted a lot of the issues that we currently have as a football club. And the big issue in this game was that for the life of us, we couldn't progress the ball particularly well, and more importantly, we couldn't score in the final third. You see, Tottenham Hotspur, particularly in the second half, having grabbed their slightly fluky 1-0 lead, Tottenham then sat really deep behind the ball. The likes of Sarr, Basuma, Bentancur all played really deep. Johnson and Richarlison on the wings, they were all in incredibly deep positions. The task for United was to break them down, and we can see that Manchester United couldn't do that, particularly in the middle of the pitch. Now, the reason we weren't able to do that, we weren't able to break Spurs down, is because they were in this low block. Ange Postecoglou caused problems for Manchester United. You see, the Ruben Amorim system and idea is all about getting tactical overloads in key parts of the pitch. For example, that can be drawing loads of players into a really deep position in the build-up phase to try and outnumber the opposition. It might be in the middle of the pitch, where we've spoken a lot about Manchester United going 4 versus 3 against the opposition, or it might be on the last line, where United look to go 5 versus 4 or 3 versus 2 in those situations. And what this does, what Ruben Amorim is trying to do, is take off some of the technical burden on the players. Because if you are constantly in positions where you have more players than the opposition, life is just that little bit easier for the players on the pitch, right? So, for example, if we have Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Ahmad, and Mason Mount, like it was in the final, all playing in this midfield position, and the opposition only have 3, 9 times out of 10, Manchester United are going to be able to outnumber that position, which means the players have more time on the ball because we're not in man-to-man situations, so we've got a bit more time. It's about showing the quality to find your spare man, and for parts of the season under Amorim, we have been able to do that. However, the problem comes when we can't get those tactical overloads. So, for example, when we can't overload the first phase because the opposition are man-to-man all over the pitch, so we don't have a spare player, we're literally man-to-man. Or when the opposition drop really, really deep. You see, when you've got the back 4, but also, 100 midfielders in front of them, all sitting really deep, once again, we don't get those numerical overloads. So when we face high-pressing teams that are man-to-man, but also low-block teams, we don't have numerical overloads, and that creates a problem for the players. Now, the reason why this creates a problem for the players is because the challenge is now very different. If you guys have ever played football, there is a big difference between having time and space to find your spare player and actually playing shoulder to shoulder with someone for 90 minutes. It's a very different challenge for the players. Suddenly, when you are man-to-man, you need technical players, you need problem solvers, players that also have tactical gravity, players that can draw opposition players towards them, players that can pull people out of position, and also people that can manipulate the space. This is something that Manchester United are currently lacking, and I think that was really proven in this game against Spurs. With Spurs in a low block, what United failed to do was move them about, and also we really failed to progress the ball through the middle of the pitch. You can see this graph again, no real central progression from Manchester United, and one of the reasons for that was because in the middle of the pitch we didn't have the players that could manipulate the opposition. For example, Ahmad, who started in the right 10 position, was actually often drifting out wide, and Mason Mount was a player that we just never really got the ball to, and the reason for that was because in these deep phases here, these 5, we couldn't progress the ball through the middle of the pitch, or didn't want to? I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are. Was it that we couldn't, or that we didn't want to? Let me know what you think. But playing a player like Kobbie Mainoo changes it. You see, in the final, look at where Manchester United were dribbling with the ball. Not once is it through the middle, the core of the pitch. I mean, apart from a couple of occasions around the box with Lenny Yoro and Casemiro, they're not exactly prime dribbling footballers. This is where a player like Kobbie Mainoo coming into the team changes things. Now, in terms of who he replaces in the starting 11, the position he changes, that is something that we are going to need to figure out, particularly as we head towards next season. We're going to need to find solutions in pre-season. But for now, what is more important is not the position he's playing, it's not the tactical structure, it's the technical skill set that he brings. Because he brings a skill set and an ability to solve problems in a way that no other Manchester United player can. You see, for someone like Bruno Fernandes, he's an amazing player, but he's not a 1-versus-1 dribbler. What he looks to do, in terms of breaking teams down and causing problems, is use his amazing passing range, or his deception on the pass, or sometimes his long shots. But that doesn't actually manipulate the opposition too much. A player like Kobbie Mainoo does, because he dribbles with the ball, he manipulates the ball, he changes the tempo of the ball, and what that does is it moves the opposition. When someone like Kobbie picks the ball up, the opposition know that he can dribble, so they go towards him to try and stop him. What that does is finally create some space. You see, when Casemiro has the ball here, Spurs know what they need to do. Let him have a little bit of time, occasionally apply pressure to him, but let him have his time, because he's just going to try and find a pass, and it's very difficult to find a pass through a block of 10 players. When Kobbie Mainoo comes onto the pitch and starts looking to dribble at people, you get something very different. Because as he carries the ball forward, eventually someone has to engage him. And in the case of Kobbie, it's normally more than one player that has to engage him. So rather than just, for example, Bentancur having to go deal with him, it will be Basuma as well. If Kobbie Mainoo is drawing 2 players onto himself, it's going to create room for someone else. And whilst we haven't actually got a tactical overload here, we almost create a similar situation, because Kobbie on the ball, with his dribbling, sometimes plays like 2 players. And I just want to really highlight what I mean by this, because I think it's an important point. We've seen it literally from Kobbie Mainoo's breakthrough into the first team in pre-season here. When he picks the ball up, he doesn't just want to pass sideways and sort of keep the ball moving. He wants to be aggressive. He's a forward-thinking player, someone that wants to take people on and drive through the heart of the opposition. Again, if we go to that dribbling stat from earlier, United didn't look to do that in the middle of the pitch. Kobbie Mainoo is a player that can bring that, and this is what it does. It draws people towards him. If Kobbie Mainoo is occupying 1, 2, maybe even 3 opposition players, that means other Manchester United players should have more time. So Kobbie Mainoo isn't just a good player himself, he makes those around him better because of the time and space that he creates for them. You can see it in a situation like this as well, his ability to change the tempo. Again, something that I feel most of us would say was lacking in the Europa League Final. It was very slow, there was a lack of urgency. Kobbie Mainoo changes the tempo with his touch, because he often takes a slightly slow first touch to sort of draw the opposition in towards him, and then on the second touch he's going to push it forward, he's going to burst past them. And again, you can see what this does. It takes players out of the game. United lacked this on Wednesday night. Someone that could take the ball in the middle of the pitch and, more than anything I would say, take responsibility for the ball themselves. You know, want the ball and say, don't worry guys, I'm going to solve the problem. You can also see it here, and this is the point I'm talking about, almost creating overload situations even though we're not in an overload, right? So you can see Manchester United 2-versus-2 in the midfield. Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo 2-versus-2 in this particular moment. So United don't actually have a tactical overload here, and this normally is a problem for us. But because Kobbie wants to dribble at people, he wants to knock the ball past people, he has a tactical gravity. Opposition players have to go towards him to try and stop him, right? If you've ever played against a dribbling footballer in your life, you will know that very often you'll ask a teammate to come and help you, right? And that's exactly what happens here. Kobbie Mainoo picks the ball up, tries to be expressive, tries to be aggressive, I would say, with the ball, trying to move forward, and it causes multiple, Crystal Palace, I believe this is, multiple players to move towards him to try and stop him. That now creates the room for someone else to move into. This is why Kobbie Mainoo is such an important player for United, because he does things with the ball that other players can't do, and the opposition know that. Again here, this time in the Champions League last season, he picks the ball up in this position, and he's manipulative. He wants to roll the ball under his studs. He wants to express himself. He wants to take people on, taking responsibility on the ball. And the effect of this is that the opposition have got to try and close him down, because you can't just let people dribble through you. So you have to get towards him. You have to close him down. And you can see here, it's 4 players around Kobbie. If there's 4 players around Kobbie, there's going to be room for someone else to get the ball. Now, I'm not saying that if Kobbie Mainoo played more of the final in the Europa League, that Manchester United suddenly would have been incredible. He doesn't solve all our problems on the ball or off the ball, but I do think that he brings something different to this United team. I'm also not saying he should start every game. I just think he deserves more minutes because, again, I think he brings us something different. Of course, there are question marks over some of his defensive work, perhaps his intensity off the ball. There is also a question mark over how you get the best from him in terms of what position do you play him in. Is he a left-sided central midfielder in a double pivot, or is he a left-sided 10? Personally, right now, I don't actually know. The more important thing for me, again though, isn't the position, it's the role and the technical quality that he brings. For me, Kobbie Mainoo should be operating in this space here. I think he's great in these areas, and he should be given the license to take the ball on, move forward with it, and commit opposition defenders to make more space. That, for me, is why Kobbie Mainoo should be playing more regularly. Everyone is saying it, and I've just given you the reason. Now, I should just add also that those aren't even the best clips of Kobbie that we've seen in the past couple of seasons, right? We've seen those moments where he's taken the ball in the final third and done amazing things, whether that be Lyon, Liverpool, or Wolves. He has done some great stuff, but I want to look at something a little bit different today. In terms of today, I think that is the end of the video there. You guys know how much I rate Kobbie Mainoo. I think he's a great footballer. He's still got a lot to learn. He's got a lot of areas where he needs to develop in his intensity, his physicality, but also his passing and things like that. Of course, he needs to improve as a player, but he's very young, and I think he needs to be given more of an opportunity to get on the pitch and express himself, because I think United the other night lacked personalities on the football pitch, and I think Kobbie Mainoo, with the way that he plays, is a personality that, quite frankly, we currently lack. So I want to see him more, but I also want to hear your thoughts on this situation. Do you think Kobbie Mainoo should be playing more regularly? How do you get him into this team? Is there an adjustment that we need to make to find that role for him to perform and really execute to a high level? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.